Welcome, welcome, welcome to this edition of Sagionic 1027. We are so glad you decided to join us today. And with us, I have another one of those guests. And this is Mary Trask. I had the honor of interviewing her a little bit ago. But today I get to interview her for her books, plural, that are called Flying with the Eagles. And it's a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And if somebody has the mental capacity to write a trilogy, they're not just going to stop there. So viewers, you might want to hang on to your seats over this one. So Mary Trask, thank you for coming back to our program again. Today's
Thank,
program is all about you, and I'm excited to hear what you're going to release to our viewers today.
thank you. Well, I've written now 5 books that have been published. So the first 2 are nonfiction, but I had a 7-year break from the first 2. They were published in 2009, 2011, and they're beautiful books, but I thought I was done. And after 7 years, I was in my living room. I was just praying with my husband. Well, we were both praying separately, but I was reading the Bible, just praying. And all of a sudden I heard the voice of the Lord. And he said, I want you to write fiction. And that just kind of stopped me for a moment because my background and my training is journalism. And I had, written for a couple of newspapers. I had a column, that was my training.
Yeah.
And I was comfortable with that, just the logical, sequential evidence, proof, all that. And so I kind of came back to him. I said, Lord, I don't know how to write fiction. And besides that, I have no storyline. I have nothing. I don't know how to do this. And he just told me, he said, no answer to that. But of course, he doesn't answer when it's like very obvious to him that there's some help coming. And he told me to get up and go to my computer. And as I walked across the floor heading towards my office, I heard the words "flying with the eagles." And I was a little surprised by it. I thought, am I writing about birds? I had no idea what flying with the eagles.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. I've just kind of learned not to question him when he's telling me something. I'm not going to understand it all the way till he decides to open it up. So I went in, I turned on my computer, and I put up the document and I typed in "flying with the eagles." And as soon as I did that, it was like a movie above my computer screen, movie/vision of this storyline that was absolutely incredible. Anyway, it just stunned me. I was like, what is this? And so I was able to watch a segment of the movie, and then it would go back. It was like it would pause and wait for me. Okay, now I need to describe what I just saw. And so I would start writing, and it would just hold on pause, and I'd write it down as best I could, and try and catch all the details. And I could always go back to those things and see them again. It was really cool. Anyway.
Okay. So that's like Sid Roth, It's Supernatural. Come on. The Lord tells her to go write a book. She's going to write, and as she's walking to write a fiction book, she hears "Flying with the Eagles." She sits down. After she becomes obedient to type on the key, she sat down. She walked towards the office in response to what the Lord called her to do. B, she sat down. C, she opened up her computer, and as soon as she typed what the Lord spoke to her, then he gave her more in the realm of a projector in her office above her screen. Come on. Who doesn't want this excitement in life? Because I sure do. Okay. So then you're typing away, right? And then
I'm typing away, and I would all of a sudden know that I was at the end of a chapter.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, now let's do chapter 2. And anyway, so I had written several chapters like this, and I'm just wondering, what is this? He did let me put the names of places. I could make up the names. I could make up the character names, not make them up. I looked
Yeah.
them up. I wanted something that, and actually all the names have a value, have a meaning behind it in this story. But so let me give you a capsule of what I saw.
Okay.
So this is just like the introduction. Um, so all of a sudden, I saw an island, and there's an island, and it had jagged rocks all around, so no one could go run their boat, canoe or whatever out beyond the immediate waters around this island, or they would be shipwrecked. The
Yeah.
rocks would tear it up. So, and also this was a very simple community, no technology, um, just people living off the land. And, it could have been something like 100 years ago or something, just
Okay.
very simple, growing their own things, livestock,
Yeah.
farms, whatever. And, but the thing that was different about this island is that there was like a smoky haze that was all over the island that just hung on the
Huh.
island. And in fact, years ago, I'll tell you, we were driving through Redding, California, when they had all those fires. Do you remember all the fires they had several years back?
Mhm,
Major
mhm.
fires, burning whole
It was in
communities.
2020.
2020. Okay.
Yep.
So during that time, we went down to visit our son who was living there.
Yeah.
And anyway, I saw this smoky haze. And as soon as I saw the smoky haze on the island, it reminded me of that. What I seen in
Oh.
2020 is like, oh, what is that? Why? And so then it started coming together. Each of the villages had a village elder who was basically like God for
Okay.
the people. He
Okay.
would tell them, or the leadership would tell
Yeah.
them what job the men were going to do, and they had
Okay.
to go get trained or whatever, and they would tell you where we need you. And then once they got going on their job, then the women who were being trained to be wives
Okay.
and have to take care of a house and all that. So then they would bring in all the available young women, and the leaders, not the man,
Okay.
would pick out who they thought they should get married. They should be a couple, and very controlling. But the reason for that is they told the people, and this had been going on for generations. It wasn't
Okay.
just instant. They had told the people that the smoke that they were living in was actually volcanic, and that there was mountains over there, and they called them the Smoking Mountains. No one could go up there. They said it's too dangerous. So in order to survive, you need to listen to us. We will help our island to survive this by working together and us dictating
Okay.
what needs to happen. And the thing that was the way they kind of enforced that is anyone who dissented or didn't want to go along with the program, and the village elders would hear about it, that person would either mysteriously become sick and die suddenly, or they were arrested, and they called this dissenters. They were arrested by a group of men that had been trained as enforcers. They would enforce whatever the village elders said. And there was one key man who was kind of over all the village elders. They'd have their meetings and make their plans and whatever.
Okay.
So in the midst of this society, a young woman named Shoshana discovers that now she is ready to be added to their list of available women
Okay.
for men to marry, and she absolutely is distraught with that. She does not want to do that, and she's begging her father, and he's saying no. He says, my wife died when she complained about this system. I'm not going to lose you too. So
Uh,
yes, you're going to do this. And she is so upset. So one morning she just got up early and decided to go to the coast. And she had a little private cove that she knew about, and it's very thick vegetation on the island. So it was very, very green and lots of stuff, very
yeah.
dense. And so she makes her way over to this little cove. She's sitting there doing the self-pity thing. You know, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, and complaining. And all of a sudden, she sees a young girl who's maybe
Okay.
some 8 and 10. Her
Okay.
name was come up in a canoe, park it in the cove. She's hiding, so the little girl didn't see her, and she picks up a big sack and goes walking into the forest.
Okay.
And so, of course, the girl is curious. The woman is curious, so she follows this young girl, and they come across, and this is where everything starts to make sense. They come to a homestead that the first thing she noticed is that this homestead, which has, has uh, trees and fruits and gardens and everything provided in this whole homestead, and it's a beautiful cottage.
Okay.
There is no smoke around this cottage. The whole thing.
Ah.
She's going, what is this? She's lived in this smoky haze her whole life. What is going on here? And anyway, an older woman comes out with the young girl. The older woman's name is Miss Hattie.
Okay.
And Miss Hattie calls her out. I see you hiding over there. What are you doing coming here? And she goes, Anyway, and while they're having this confrontation, a young man comes up I'll give the name. So Shoshana, Miss Hattie, Jess is the little girl, and Galen is the young man who comes in. He obviously knew Miss Hattie very well. She was actually mentoring him and training him. And he's very suspicious of this. Shoshana, who are you? What are you doing here? Anyway, so that's the whole beginning. But in the midst of all this, they discover something that's called, that Miss Hattie is teaching them about. It's called the Way of the Eagle.
Okay.
The Way of the Eagle is when a storm starts coming, or when something, it looks like there's trouble, the eagle just doesn't sit there and hide. He actually takes flight, and he launches up above. He rides the air current, and he goes above the storm, where he has like the big picture. He is able to see things perfectly clear because he is above everything. Anyway, I have a picture of it. So basically what it is learning how to have a heavenly perspective. Not stuck in the storm and complaining and poor me, I just have to do this, I can't do anything. And so anyway, this whole thing, the village elders discover that this young woman didn't show up to be selected, and then they find out about some of her friends and some of the other ones who walked away from their jobs, and it upset the whole system. And they're just like, you know what? We cannot let these young adults walk away like this. We need to capture them because others will try it too. So they're trying to protect their system. So anyways, this whole big thing of them searching. But what Shoshana discovers is that they have resources that that no one else has on the island, just the people that follow the ways of the eagle. And so there is a God character. The name for him is Elamet, which is God of truth. And I did that on purpose because I didn't want people that were anti-church or whatever, I didn't want them to immediately realize that this was about the God who loves them.
Yeah.
So Elamet, and then there's the other character that comes in, the Jesus character. His name is Chen, which means grace.
Okay.
And then when they are traveling through the island and trying to avoid being captured and all this stuff, they are led by a light, which is obviously the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
And so anyway, we have all of this happening, and I'll say it's very exciting. I never knew what was going to happen. I would write a couple chapters or whatever.
Because you've got the video. You got to wait till you get the video to write it.
Yeah, I did. I would, if I didn't get the video, I would be like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, Lord, this is your story. I stopped. And then all of a sudden it would come on. I go, ah, there it is. And sometimes I would be in my office writing what I was seeing for like 5 hours at a time. I mean, I was so caught up in this story because I felt as though I was actually there. And I
Yes, yes.
and
Well,
I
because the real was right before you, Mary.
Yes. I could feel what they were feeling. I could hear their thoughts. It's just like I understood the character, what was motivating them, why
Yeah,
they were acting that way, why were they responding that way.
yeah,
And anyway, so I eventually took it out to my husband. I said, here, why don't you see what this is? Why don't you
yeah,
check it out? He's not, I will say he's not a big fiction fan.
yeah,
If it says fiction, he's like, I just want the real stuff. I was like,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
this was pretty real, being as I got it from the Lord. That
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
me.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, anyway, he started reading it. And once he got into the story, he got so caught up into it. He read to where I had stopped. And he would say, so what's going to happen with this person? What's going to happen? How are they going to get it? I was like, you're asking the wrong person. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
receiving this
yeah,
story.
yeah.
And I mean, the story, and every time I would think I kind of figured out what might happen next, it never happened that way. Never. It was always different than what I had thought. Maybe this is going to happen. No, not that. And so many twists and turns, and oh man, it's just it's like you sit on the edge of your seat um, when you're
Yeah.
reading it, because it's just, and all of it was designed to really train these people how to operate in agreement with, well, we know it's the kingdom of heaven, but in
Yeah,
agreement
yeah,
with gifts and the abilities. They were given supernatural gifts at different times, unexpected. They're like, what? How did that happen?
yeah.
And provision was always provided for them.
Ah,
They saw the protection of the Lord multiple times. I mean, yeah. And everyone had to make their own choice
huh.
all through. It was like they all had the opportunity, and he left it with them. Um, so anyway, yeah. So flying with the eagles, and I did say, just this morning, as a matter of fact, as I was praying, the Lord told me to read John chapter 5.
Okay,
And if,
wait, before you get there, pause for a second because I want to share something with our viewers, okay? Yesterday morning, I made an error and I pushed a button that deleted 7 interviews, right? And I'm just like, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't do that. And that would be a normal reaction. But instead, it's almost like in interviewing all these carriers of wisdom, their wisdom is resting upon me, right? And I didn't skip a beat. I didn't freak out. I didn't panic. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to I guess I'm going to ask him to come back on set again for another interview, right? But the Lord
Mhm.
said to me that each person who came back on was going to have a double anointing from the Lord.
Yeah,
Okay. So this is take 2. This is lights, camera, action, take
yeah.
2. So now say what you're going to say. And I shared that with you because what I shared with you that I saw last night.
Yes, yes. So this morning I was just praying. I was going, okay, Lord, I need fresh anointing to do this again. Well, remember what to say. What do I talk
Yeah, yeah,
about?
yeah.
Which parts? And he told me to read John chapter 5. And that is the story of the lame man who was by the pool of Bethesda, right
Okay.
near the sheep gate, the Bible said. And when Jesus came through, the perfect lamb came through the sheep gate and came up to this man who for 38 years had been laying on his bed saying, I can't get up, I can't do anything, I'm stuck,
Mm,
I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I can't do it at all. And Jesus came to him and he says, do you want to be healed? He says, well, it's so-and-so's fault because he gets there before every time the water is stirred.
Ah,
He gets there before me, or so-and-so, they blocked this, and I just can't move fast enough, and and nobody will help me. Nobody wants to
yeah,
help me, help me get
yeah.
there. Complain, complain, complain. And the Lord, he was so kind, he was so patient. He said, but do you want to be healed? He's, yes. He says, then stand up, pick up your bed, and walk. And as I was looking at that stand up, oh, I didn't even share this with you, but
Yeah.
stand up, it was like the Lord had already put a spine in that.
That's
The spine,
right.
the spine had already been created, but he didn't think he could ever use it. And he said, I put strength in you. Stand up and do it. Stand up. And
Mm.
so the man stood up and he realized now he could stand. But then when he told him to pick up his bed, that word for the bed actually can be translated as an anchor. And the Lord gave me the picture of a cove, a big, a bay,
Yeah,
whatever, with
yeah,
a ship
yeah.
fully equipped, all with everything that is needed to make the trip, to do what it was designed to do. But the anchor was stuck down on the ground, and the people on the ship were just more comfortable with staying on the ship, not moving, not going anywhere. I just want to do what I've done for 38 years. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I got this figured out. And it's easy. It had to do with sleep and not rousing. In fact, when Jesus said stand up, it was also a command to wake up. It was a
Uh,
rousing command. I made you perfect. You can walk in this. And he stood up. He picked up the anchor where he thought he had to stay, and he said, now walk. And the man started walking out, realizing, I'm free. I'm free.
wow.
And so now, in applying this to the Flying with the Eagles trilogy, this story involves uh, children. There's children involved in this story. Several orphans that yeah, when parents disappear or are
Okay.
taken away in the system, they come and get the children and they put them in an orphanage.
Mm,
And orphanage is used to train them up in servitude,
mm,
to just reinforce their system. You
mm,
have no rights. You just do what you're told.
mm,
And we're going to tell you what you're going to do, and you're going to do
mm,
it.
mm.
And anyway, so the children were all shipped there. So there's several orphans. And Jessa, the young girl that I mentioned that
Yeah.
came with the
That
canoe,
escaped. Yeah.
she had learned the way of the eagle when she was young, when both of her parents, I think her parents, I'm trying to remember, I believe both her parents were either they died suddenly. Yeah, I think they both died from an
Oh, the
accident.
one that met.
Shoshana,
Yeah,
Shoshana.
Shashawn. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one, well, Shoshana saw her and followed her.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
this girl, yeah, this girl is absolutely free from the system. Even though
Mm.
she's in this orphanage, she has learned the way of the eagle, and she is able, she is provided like a door that appears that she just walks out anytime she wants and does what Element is directing her to do. She does all kinds of, you know, just adventures,
Yeah.
helping,
Yeah.
delivering messages,
Yeah.
visiting Miss Patty, whatever. And then she comes back and nobody even notices that she was gone.
Yeah.
And she has one friend in there and she says, how do you do that? How can you just walk out and then walk in like nothing and nobody ever says anything? She said, well, it was a gift. It's a gift from me,
Right.
anyway, so there's children, there's orphans that are walking in this. There's young adults that, Shoshana obviously will learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Galen already knows, and there's a
Yeah.
whole group of people and things that happen, even mishaps that seem
Yeah.
like a mishap.
Yeah.
But of course, Element turns it around
Yeah.
for good, of
Yeah.
course. And anyway, it's just it's amazing. And so what he told me is that, and oh, and there's older people too, of course, Miss
Okay.
Hattie, and then there's parents
Okay.
of different ones that are realizing, hey, maybe my son or daughter, maybe they're making a better choice here. That we don't have to
Ah.
just stay in, let the anchor just hang there and stay in there. And one other thing too, it said that anchor had to do with thoughts. They receive a thought that says, I can't do that. So I'm stuck. I will never have enough money.
Ah.
I will never
Ah.
be talented enough. I
Ah.
will never be able to do that because of blah, 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 whatever the excuse is, because of my background, because of my upbringing, whatever. There is no excuse really when Jesus says, stand up, use the strength I put in you, pull up that anchor, let's get going. We got things to do. And
Now pause, because Mary, I want you to pause. I'm going to give you the microphone and you're going to say it again. And let me tell you why. When Jesus wanted to emphasize something, he would say things like, verily, verily,
yeah,
right? He would
yeah.
say it twice. So I want you to say it again.
Well, it wasn't Jesus, but when they were confronted with the truth, well, Jesus to the crippled man,
Yes.
he crippled man, self-pity. Oh, and he was jealous. And he had offense because so and so got there before him, and so helped them, and he has friends, and I have nobody. And Jesus came up and he said, he looked at him, if you want to be healed, stand up. Simple. Stand up. I have put in you a spine that is
Mm,
strong. I put
mm,
within you the bones and the tissue.
mm,
I made him.
mm,
I made you. You can stand up. He stand up now. Grab that anchor, which actually would be the thoughts. It's like the bed is comfortable. I'm
mm,
used to it. I'll just sleep my days away. It's just I don't have to do anything. I don't
mm,
have to work
mm,
hard. It's just simple.
mm,
I can
mm,
just stay there and my people bring me food or whatever. I don't know how he got his food. But
mm.
anyway, but that's what people do. It's like they want to stay in the comfortable, familiar pattern of their lives. And Jesus says, no, no.
Mm, mm,
Get those thoughts out of your head. That is not from me. That's not who you are. And now it's time for you to get up and walk because I have the greatest adventure of all time planned out for each of your lives. You just have to make
mm,
that choice. If you're going to believe me, or you're going to believe the thoughts that are coming in your head from another source,
mm,
not me.
mm, mm.
So,
People receive that today. Receive it. Receive it. It's a choice. It's a choice. And
yes,
we're sitting here listening to Sister Mary. This is my third interview with her, right? And
yeah,
is it my third? Yeah, my third. My
it's a
third
third.
interview with her. And we're sitting here listening to her. And this is what I'm thinking about. Mary was, when she was a little girl, she knew she would write. She knew she would write, right?
Mhm.
And then if you
Well,
go back and
18,
listen, what's that?
I was
Yeah, yeah,
18,
yeah. But
but
still, you were young. But but
yeah, I
but
started.
how? But even the training to back up what you were called to do, what you were created to do, right? And then the
Right.
Lord, you didn't start writing to write your books when you were 20, right?
No,
But but
no,
but
no, no.
yeah, no, no, but I'm telling this for viewers. You weren't
Yeah,
20 when you started to write your books, right? So
right.
to use the excuse that says, "Well, life has just passed me by." No, that's like, the guy at the gate of Bethesda where the Lord says, "No, no, 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 no." Right? And
Right.
so, gosh, Mary, this is great. So I just want our viewers to know that on the underneath this interview, you'll see something that says about. If you click on the about, there'll be a direct link that you can purchase Mary's book, Flying with the Eagles, the trilogy. But what do viewers have to look forward to after they read this book, this series?
So I will kind of give you a little history. So Flying with the Eagles, books 1, 2, and 3. they were written, well, the vision started, the storyline started the end of 2018.
Okay.
And that's when I started writing it and processing it. And so I'm writing it, and I knew that there, going to be 3 books. Well, I didn't know 3, but I figured it out
Yeah.
because it kept going. I was like, okay, it's a new book now, you know. Um, but so that whole writing process took pretty much a
Okay.
full year of me receiving this story, writing it, editing it, and then we got it published. And so all 3 books were written, edited, and published by the end of 2019. In fact, I remember the 3rd book actually came out. I think it came out either end of November or December. It was like right at Christmas time. So 2019. And then in that, he showed me that it was written to help the people of this going through what we went through beginning in 2020. I didn't even know that.
Yes.
And he told me he said it's a prophetic allegory for what all of us were going through in that
Right.
season,
That's
telling
right.
us, oh, you can't, no, you can't,
Yeah.
yeah. And anyway, with all that. So this story is an encouragement to them. But so I finished it and I thought, whew, I'm done. Okay. So now I've written 5 books. I'm good with that. And then, and by the way, from the first 2, I told you there was a 7-year
Yes.
break, and
Yes.
I was
Yes.
actually caring for my mother-in-law during that time.
Yes.
So, but it had been a period of time, and I was just, ready to go on with something else. And a friend of ours who is very prophetic, he called up just to visit with my husband, with
Okay.
John.
Okay.
And in the middle of the conversation, all of a sudden he said, wait, he said, I need to talk to Mary. And I was going, okay. I hadn't talked to this guy in years. I said, so yeah, what's up? And he says, so the Lord's telling me it's time for you to start volume 2. And I'm going, volume 2? What? What
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
And he said, so you know how I had received the
Yes.
trilogy, the
Yeah.
first 3 books as a movie.
Yeah.
Well, this guy said, so okay, I'll tell you what he said, and then I'll give you a history.
Okay.
He said, so you're not going to be receiving these next stories the same way you did Flying with the Eagles. Or no, he didn't say Flying with the Eagles.
Yeah.
With volume 1, he said, you won't receive it in the same manner. It's going to be a different way. And I was just going, no, I like my bed of comfort. I just want you to tell me what to write. I don't want to know. And anyway, whining. And so then I was like, okay, grow up. I can do this. I can stand up. I can do this. And basically, he just told me that to start writing it. So I'm praying. I'm going, okay, Lord, what am I writing about? What's coming up next?
Okay.
And I will say, first, I want to add something about Flying with the Eagles. I've had many readers tell me that as they are reading the books, they literally see it like a movie in front of them. So they are receiving it as I received it.
That's right.
Revelation, same way I received it, it's being passed off to them. And so with that, so now I said, okay, so you're doing something different. I need help on this. Anyway, he told me the title for this next trilogy. It's 3 books again. It's called Taking Down the Giants.
Yeah.
And it is actually 7 years. I didn't even realize that. I had a 7-year break between my books.
Okay.
And he says, so 7 years later, after all the events and the big climatic ending there on this island, Kumani, which Kumani, let's see, where is it? Oh, I'm trying to remember where I put it. Anyway, the meaning, Destiny. Kumani, Destiny. Okay, the island of Kumani. So 7 years later, one of the children from the orphanage who was adopted by a family, this boy, he was, so he was 5 years old at the time, and he actually ended up being quite a hero. At 5 years old, he had courage. He stood up. Yeah, he didn't just sit there and let people do whatever. He
Yeah.
stood up, spoke up. Um, but so 7 years later, he's now 12 years old. And this boy is, yeah, he's doing the little complaining thing. Everybody used to say, his name is Eliam.
Okay.
And he used to say, it means, actually, Eliam means people of God. That's what Eliam means.
Mm.
And so little Eliam, he's kind of jealous. He has a new baby sister, and he's anyway. His other friend Jessa is now a teenager and getting all kinds of attention. And here he is, just this 12-year-old boy. Nobody even looks at me anymore. Woe is me, grumble, grumble. And anyway, he had I don't want to give the whole big
Yeah,
surprise, but
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
encounter. And anyway, he at one point he's walking on the beach. He learned that he was actually not born on that island. I mean, he was born on that island, but he's not from that island. That he is actually from another island. His parents, his pregnant mother and his dad, came from another island, and their boat, got tore up in the rocks. They managed to get on shore,
Yeah.
and he was born on that island. So um, anyway,
Oh.
so he has a whole nother destiny he didn't even know about. And so he's thinking about this, and he comes across someone who is living in this terrible, just a tent, filthy, dirty. The guy doesn't even care of himself. Garbage everywhere, and he's just going, "Whoa, what?" Because you don't see that on Kumani.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the people, they take care of themselves
yeah,
generally.
yeah.
And anyway, he doesn't recognize him, but the man recognized the boy. He realized that boy had something to do with him getting arrested and caught. So he is angry and jealous, and the man had been making plans to just end his life. He was going to drink this herbal thing,
Yeah.
and going to knock him out, and he was going to get on the canoe and just go crash in the rocks and be done. So he decides, instead of him following through with his plan, he's going to get some justice against this 12-year-old boy. The boy drinks it not knowing what it is, and he's unconscious, and the guy launches him out saying, all right, the hero boy is gone.
Yeah.
And but of course Chen is watching, and he intervenes and opens up the waterway so that this boat
Yeah.
can go. And he actually has angelic beings helping him,
Yeah.
pushing this boat over to the island that he didn't even know existed before.
Huh.
And yeah, so this 12-year-old boy is sent to the island. Then this island of Ganix is terrible, terrible. All
Mm.
kinds of awful things going on. And it just seems so crazy that a 12-year-old boy, of all things, is sent over to bring some change to this island. And it's just a phenomenal story. I have written books 1 and 2 already, and I'm working on book 3. And when the Lord releases me, I will be publishing all 3 of them. But it's a sequel to Flying with the Eagles, and it's all really, it's training for us.
That's
It,
right. That's
it's
right.
training for us to learn how to operate in all kinds of situations, that we don't give in to fear, and we don't let our negative thoughts, dictate how we're going to react and what we're going to do, because
That's
God's got a
right.
much bigger plan and purpose for us.
Okay, but you have to share with the viewers because this was so fascinating. So when your friend Chen, your guys' friend, right, was talking to John on the phone and then said, "Hey, can I talk to Mary?" And then as he said
Yeah.
that you weren't going to receive in the same way, you forgot
Oh
to
yeah.
tell the viewers the very first thing. Yeah, because this is like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Okay, so you got to take viewers back to that moment.
Okay, so Lord, you're not going to give me this story the same way.
Okay.
So this time he had already planted in me how things work. And so I would basically, he would just give me, and not a full movie, but he would give me little pictures of what was happening. And I saw Eliam in a boat going to an island. What is that? So I would just sit there and meditate on it. And I was like, okay. So anyway, it just kind of developed. And then he runs into some young men there, and
Yeah.
he's equipped. They don't realize Eliam already has all the gifts that he has been given back in Kumani, which is the ability to be able to change things on the island of Ganix. And the Lord's putting him in contact with the right people. And I mean, there's all kinds of twists
Okay,
and
but
turns.
you're missing something, Mary. You're missing, because I remember this detail when you shared it. Okay, you're laying in bed.
Oh yeah, okay, got it. That was actually the beginning of the last book, Flying with.
Oh, okay.
That was really cool. I was okay.
Okay.
So I finished 1 and 2 of Flying with the Eagles, and I was going, Lord, I have to have a dramatic hook for this. Is
Yeah.
like big. This is the big book,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
much thicker than the others.
Yeah.
This is like the big. I don't know how you're going to solve all this,
Yeah.
and so I just kind of I couldn't write till I knew,
Yeah.
and I'm laying in bed at night, and I'm sound asleep, and all of a sudden I'm like instantly wide awake. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that, and I don't see it this time. I hear this speech that is given by a new villain that you didn't even know existed prior. Here he is coming in, pulling the cards on all the village elders, saying, You thought you were running that. Guess what? I'm the big man now. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And he had been planning this for years and years, get
But you
everything
heard
in
the
place.
voice. You heard the
I
voice
heard
of
it.
the villain in your room.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
was horrified. I was going, what?
Ah,
That's awful. What is he doing in my mind? And I
yeah.
knew, and the Lord said, there's your beginning. So I didn't
Oh.
get up at that time. I went back to sleep, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. But the next morning I was bright and early. I was right in my office, and it was like as soon as I got everything ready to start writing book 3. I heard the speech perfectly repeated for
That's
me, so
right.
I
That's
could write
right.
it out exactly as the Lord had released it to me. And so I had many things like that where
That's
I'd be
right.
stuck. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen, and he'd say, remember this? Oh yeah, okay, we're going to deal with that now. So anyway, it's absolutely fascinating. I have several friends that help me in editing it.
Yeah.
They read it. They read it with me, as we go through it, and just make sure it's clear. Do you
Yeah.
understand the story? Is it,
Yeah.
whatever. And I've got one friend that's here here in Florida, and she keeps asking me, when are you going to invite me over so we can read some more of your book? When I want to know what's going to happen. I want to know what's going to happen. I said, well, I'm just learning myself what's going to happen. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's coming. And
That's
a
good.
lot of times I've learned with this taking down the giants that it's like he will give me. Sometimes he'll give me a picture of where I'm going to be going,
Yeah.
and then he kind of leads me on how to set things up so that will happen. So I get glimpses of it. He's actually given me a glimpse of the end of the taking down the giants, but of course I'm not going to tell anybody.
Yeah, no. And you know what I really like, Mary, because I can foresee, right? I can foresee this is going to awaken the sensory senses inside of people. It's going
Mm,
to awaken that creative edge inside of them, that
yeah,
they don't have to stay positioned on the COUCH, right? They don't have to stay in that stance. And there's so much more out there aside from that. And the spine is already in them, right?
that's
And so
that's right.
this is going to be fascinating to see how it's like awaken, because that's what Jesus said to the man at Bethesda, right? Awake,
Yeah,
snap out of it,
arouse,
snap
wake
out
up.
of it. Yeah, come on, like snap out of it, right? And
Yep.
So I'm so excited. And so for all of our viewers, underneath this video, there'll be a direct link that you can click onto. And it'll direct you right to get Mary's book, the trilogy, Flying with the Eagles. And then look, and she's did 2 previous books. I'm going to connect those links on there too. So all of your books will be connected right there.
Yeah.
And you guys, come on. It's never too late to start. It's never too late to start. If you've thought about things, you can say, God's not going to do it exactly the same, but you could say, Lord, I would like you to one up how you gave it to Mary.
Yeah. That
Right?
would be good.
Right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
because the Lord can do these things, right? And so
Yes.
I just encourage everybody to step into that creative space, because the Lord showed me in 2019, if we're created in the image of the Creator, we're created to be creative. Therefore, we have a creative desire to want to create, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's exciting. And so thank you so
Yes.
much, Mary. What a
Thank you.
delight. What a delight. I cannot wait to see till this is completed, but I can't wait to see both of these volumes, the trilogy and the second part, on screen,
Oh,
because
yeah.
because it's going to happen. It's going to
Yes.
happen. If you
Yeah.
saw it once on screen, it was
Yeah.
intended to be on screen.
Yeah. He told me, I had another person didn't even know I was, I forgot to mention that prophet that told me volume 2.
Yeah.
He didn't even know I was writing. He had no idea that I had written anything and that I was writing books. And then I
I
had
love
another person
it.
come up and say, yeah, you're writing something right now? I was going,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a movie. The Lord
Yeah.
says, I was like, woo,
Yeah,
okay.
and it's what's so funny is I didn't know she was an author either. I had gotten Mary's phone number at the early part of 2019. 2019, at the early part of 2019. It was at an event and we met. And I just kind of hung on to her number, and I'm like, I really like her. I really like her, Lord, right? I really like her. I didn't know she was an author, but I'm just like, I really like her, Lord. But it must be the timing, because out of nowhere, he dropped you in my mind again. And he said, reach out to her. And you even responded to me, like, me? Why would you want to interview me? And I'm like, because Mary, I didn't know how to tell you. The Lord just put you on my heart like kindred spirit. And now we know why. You
Yeah.
and I have had conversations. We know why, right?
Yes.
So thank
Yes.
you so much. I just appreciate you coming on today, Mary. What a blessing. And,
Thank
and, and, and
you.
what a blessing and an inspiration for others to pick up their mat, because your
Yeah.
backbone's already inside of you. Walk
That's right.
forward into what the Lord is going
That's
to
right.
show or speak to you, and it will
Yes.
result in success.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you,
Very
thank you,
good.
thank you so much. And to all of our viewers, I want to thank you for coming on this episode of Sagionic 1027. And
Thank
until our next broadcast and our next guest, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord
you.
make his face to shine upon thee always. Blessings. Bye.